Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and today we're going to do the Game Week 22 wildcard video. So in this video, we're going to have an early look into how a Game Week 22 wildcard probably would look like. Now there are still quite a couple of games to go in the EFL Cup and the FA Cup as well. So those will decide the blanks and the doubles moving forward. But I thought we have an early look today, and then later on in the week, once the results and also the blanks and doubles are confirmed, we then can upload an updated wildcard video. So hopefully you guys still enjoy this one, right? And we have an early look at how a wildcard team would look like for the moment, right? So if you guys do enjoy this one, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. So for Game Week 22, this wildcard will probably depend on the fact that Manchester United and Leeds will have a double in Game Week 22, right? And also in Game Week 23, that Arsenal and Manchester City double is already confirmed, right? So this wildcard would also take into account Game Week 25, where it is likely that Newcastle, Manchester United, Brentford and Brighton would all blank, right? So I have managed the players from those teams a little bit. We will only have maximum of 4 players from those teams come Game Week 25, so that you can use one free transfer to take one of those players out and bench the other 3. Right, so that is currently the thinking behind this, and we're going to start in goal with Ederson now. So out of all the Manchester City defensive assets, Ederson is the only one that is the most nailed. All the other defenders in the back line, Ake, Laporte, Diaz, Rico Lewis, Cancelo, Walker, all of them are subject to rotation, as we have seen from Game Week 17 after the restart, where there has been so many changes in the backline. So to circumvent this problem, we go with Ederson and we secure that defensive asset. And on top of that, from Game Week 23 onwards, Manchester City's run is really good. So I do expect a couple of clean sheets from Ederson here. So we're going to go with him in goal. And in the backline, we're going to stick with this pretty template back 3, Trippier, Shaw and White, because all of them provide really good entries at cheap points into the defenses that we want. Now Trippier at this point may not be very cheap anymore, but I'm sure most of us got him for cheap at about 5 mil or 5.5 mil when he was still relatively cheap. So because of that, I would assume that all of us can afford this backline, and the reason why I've still gone with White, even though he has raised a couple of eyebrows after coming off at halftime against Manchester United, the reason is because I still do feel like it is his spot to lose, right? And Tomiyasu would probably not take the spot away from him, and the reason he was taken off is because he was on a yellow card, right? And he is playing Rashford against Manchester United for that particular game, so because of that, I think tactically it did make sense for Arteta to take him off at halftime and give Tomiyasu, who wasn't on a booking, a shot at defending Rashford. So because of that, Ben White was taken off, but I am still pretty confident of his minutes, and at 4.7 he's a really cheap entry into the Arsenal defense. So we will want him. And then for the bench, we have Ward, Mitoma, Mings and Bueno. Now Ward would still be the best backup keeper, so probably would still go with him. As for the midfield bench option, I've gone with Mitoma for this week. Now he does play Bournemouth at home. That is a really good fixture, and ideally we would want to start him. He is in really hot form at this point in time as well. But the reason why we can't start him is because all the other players are really good as well, right? So for this particular game week, we're going to have him on the bench, but from Game Week 23 onwards, he will come on and be a regular starter for this particular wildcard draft. Now we have Mings and Bueno. Now Mings is there solely because in Game Week 25, when we probably would have to use him when we bench Trippier, Shaw and all the other assets from Newcastle and Manchester United who blank, right? Then Mings would have to come in, and he plays Everton away in Game Week 25. So that's solely the reason why I've gone for him there, and 4.3 mil is a really cheap entry into an Aston Villa defense, and he's nailed in the defense as well. Now, they've looked a little bit sharper ever since the restart, so I do think that against Everton, he could pick up a couple of points, and then thereafter, we can just bench him. Now, as for Bueno, he's a really good enabler, 3.9 mil, regular starter for Wolves as well, right? So probably would still want him in the draft. Now, as for the other players from midfield and the attack as well, right? All of these players moving forward are really strong. So now let's have a look at the midfield. Now in midfield, we have Bruno Fernandes, Saka, Rashford and Odegaard. So this is a double United, double Arsenal midfield, and then there's Mitoma on the bench as the last midfield option. Now I haven't gone with any City midfielders at this point because, spoiler alert, there's Haaland up top as well, and also there's Ederson in the backline. I only want one other City asset, and that's Kevin De Bruyne. Now the route to Kevin De Bruyne is Bruno Fernandes, out and then Kevin De Bruyne in come Game Week 23. Now, I wouldn't want to go for Mahrez in my Game Week 22 draft because yes, I know he's in really hot form, but there is always this thing looming around his minutes that if he does have a bad game, he could potentially be benched. Now, this is all ifs and buts. We don't really know what happens in Pep's mind, and nobody can predict when he's going to bench Mahrez. And we have seen so many times in the past season where we've been burned by him. So it is very attractive to go for Mahrez at this point, but because of how risky he is, I still feel like as a risk-averse manager, I wouldn't want to go with Mahrez from Game Week 22 if I'm wildcarding here. I want to go with solid picks that would take me all the way through with a couple of changes here and there. So because of that reason, I wouldn't go with him. But if you guys do want to go with him, I wouldn't advise against as well. I completely understand why you would want Mahrez in your team as well. So for now, we're going to go with Fernandes, Saka, Rashford, Odegaard. Now, Fernandes and Rashford, really good picks for Game Week 22. They both double and both of them have games at home as well. So Rashford, I would say, edges Bruno Fernandes slightly in the captaincy armband shout. So we're going to have him as the captain and Bruno Fernandes as the vice-captain. Now, as for Saka and Odegaard, both of them are really, really value options for an Arsenal team that's doing so well attackingly and defensively as well. So Saka and Odegaard, they both have been returning very consistently, and on top of that, Game Week 23, they do have that double, right? So come Game Week 23, Ben White, Saka, Odegaard already tripled up on Arsenal, so you will be prepared for that. Finally, up front, we have Harry Kane, Erling Haaland, and Gnonto from Leeds. Now, Harry Kane, I still do feel is someone that you want in your team when you're wildcarding in Game Week 22. From Game Week 23 onwards, his fixtures are really good, and who's to say that he doesn't get a return against Manchester City at home? Right, the last time these two sides met, it was a high-scoring game with 6 goals in that game as well. Right, 4-2 to Manchester City. So I still do feel like it is possible Kane can return in this game, but over the long haul, he is definitely someone that we want in our teams. Now, Erling Haaland, needless to say, he should be in everyone's team, and Gnonto, really cheap entry into a Leeds attack that doubles in Game Week 22. He's just 5 mil, so he's come out as a really good option right now that enables you to have an extra double game week player. Right now, based on this team, you will have 4 double game week players in Game Week 22, and Gnonto has been picking up some returns as well. Right, so I do think like he could return, especially against Nottingham Forest as well. Now, aside from that, 4 double game week players in Game Week 22, come Game Week 23, once you make that change from Bruno Fernandes to Kevin De Bruyne, you will also have quite a number of doublers. You will have triple Arsenal and you will have triple City. Triple Arsenal in Odegaard, Saka and Ben White, and triple Man City in Ederson, Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland. So this team is actually very well set up for both double game week 22, double game week 23 and the game weeks beyond that as well. So I do want to talk a little bit about game week 25, and that's because there, as I mentioned just now, there is a potential that Manchester United, Newcastle, Brighton and Brentford all blank. Now, based on this team, there already will be a couple of players that you will have to take out come game week 25. Right? Bruno Fernandes would be out for Kevin De Bruyne, so he won't be an issue. Trippier, Shaw and Rashford will be the ones you want to bench. So the only other player that blanks in Game Week 25, which you may have to address, is Mitoma. Now Mitoma, he can be removed for other options within that bracket. You can even bring him down to Andreas Pereira after playing him for a couple of game weeks given this team as well. Right, so once that is done, you probably would still have 11 players for Game Week 25. Right, and come Game Week 26 onwards, the schedule will have to evolve a little bit as well. Right, there are a couple of blanks and doubles moving forward, but overall you will want a good core, and this team has a good set of players from Manchester United, Arsenal and Man City, as well as Harry Kane and Trippier, who are doing very well this season. So the overall structure is pretty solid. I do think like this team could do very well from Game Week 22 onwards, and if I was wildcarding, I would use this team. Right, so obviously at this point in time, as of recording, there are still a couple of games to go in the FA Cup and the EFL Cup, so I will upload an updated wildcard draft later on in the week. But hopefully this one was helpful for you guys. If you did enjoy this one, please give it a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here, and I'll catch you guys in more Game Week 22 content very soon. Bye bye.